What is up, everybody? We are back. We are live. I'm your host, Tyler Wiemann, and come join us at LineStar. We do have a free trial through Android and iOS. Download the app if you've never tried us out before, and you can get 7 days free. Thank you all for joining us. Happy to have you guys here. Get some. Let's go. It is a good day to have a good day. So let's get into it a little bit. So what we will go over today is the perfect lineups from yesterday, the winning lineups for both DraftKings and FanDuel. Then we will jump into the pitchers to consider on both DraftKings and on FanDuel. Now, nice. Get some. You won 18 NFL Week 1 tickets. That is awesome. I absolutely love to see it. Hopefully we have a big Week 1. Pretty excited that it is right around the corner. Now, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff to just kind of help our channel grow, and then we can give more and more content out for free. Now, let's get into the perfect lineups, starting with FanDuel. We got Emmett Shaheen. He was one of the pivots that I liked yesterday, and he went absolutely nuts. The man had a day. Then we had all one-offs as the perfect lineup for 280 or 28.5K, 364.2, a huge perfect lineup score. The winning lineup went to Giant Squid, who did have Shaheen, and then they had a old 4-4, Toronto and New York got it done. Both teams put up 10, and it was a nice little 4-4 stack. Congrats to the Giant Squid, who took home 20K. Now let's get over to the DraftKings lineup. We had Scooble. This is the craziest thing to me. So Scooble gave up 2 home runs, has 1 earned run, and 12 Ks. Just such a weird situation there. 6 runs total were given up, but again, only 1 earned run. So he still put up 33 and is in the perfect lineup, even at his high price. So congrats to those that had him. And then we had a 2-man Met stack, and then all one-offs there, with 43.8 being the perfect lineup salary and 282.75 with the score. And the winning lineup went to Stockton 28. Congrats. They won 50K last night. They had Shaheen and Schlittler. Schlittler had a game, 8 Ks, 6 innings, got the win. And Shaheen, obviously, 10 Ks, 7 innings with the win. Then they had a 2-man Yankees, 4-man Dodgers, and then a one-off of Gorman and Torres. One of the things we did talk about was how the Dodgers were an interesting kind of leverage, low-owned stack yesterday versus Green, and it turned out that way. They put up 7 and did enough to get into that winning lineup. So congrats to all them. Now let's get into today's show and into the picks for today, starting with our high-owned pitchers. Dylan Cease, Matt Boyd, Luzardo, Bassett are the 4 highest-owned guys. Cease is at 20%, Bassett at 18%, the rest in between there. Now, Dylan Cease is in a bit of a tough spot here versus Seattle. We all know Seattle is a dangerous offense, a little bit boom-bust. They can strike out a lot, and Cease has a 32% K rate over the last 5 and a 31% over the last 20. His FIP over both time spans right about the same. Just all year long, Cease has struggled a little bit. 4.7 ERA over the season, 4.25 over the last month. He has been getting a little bit unlucky, but I also think he has just been a little bit predictable, and teams keep just taking advantage of that. He's allowing a ton of fly balls. barrel ball to batted ball ratio is fine. Hard contact isn't super high. Really, I'm okay with his StatCast data. He just keeps making a mistake to the wrong guy and a home run comes off him. Now, split wise versus righties, Mariners aren't hitting for a very good average, but super, super high ISO at 201. K rate 22% is decent. There's some solid upside in this matchup. We got a 27.1% combined K rate. Now, this is a spot where for Cease that I don't mind attacking at 9,300. But there's also the aspect that Seattle could go nuts. They can hit a couple home runs. And if there's guys on base, it totally changes Cease's outing. So while I like Cease, I also don't mind some Seattle bats here. Seattle can get it going. Cease continually is giving up some runs. The only issue with stacking either side of this game is that both bullpens are very, very good. I think there's reasons to stack both teams, also reasons to use both pitchers in this spot. But Cease is interesting. I don't mind some. I'm not going to go overboard. There are some other spots that I like as well, but I will have some. Matt Boyd, 8,700. He is 20% owned, 3.17 FIP over his last 20, 23% K rate, or just shy of 23%. And then over the last 5, 4.01 FIP with an 18% K rate. His StatCast data is absolutely great. The big worry here for Matt Boyd is he's averaging 52% less fantasy points away. Now, there's a couple things here that I want to talk about. One, we're in San Francisco. It's one of the more pitcher-friendly parks. I think that will negate some of this. Also, the Giants have been awful versus lefties. With that, I'm a little less worried about that 52% less fantasy point situation. And I don't mind some Matt Boyd at 8,700 with his price. The other issue is there is just low upside with that 19% K rate. However, if you can see through his player card, there's a bunch of high 20s, low 30s scores from him. And that's enough upside for me. So I'm not too worried about that 19.3. When he gets it going and he's working, he can get you 6-7 Ks, and that's what you need at his price. Next, Jesus Luzardo, 9K, 18% owned. He has been very good all season long, 3.42 FIP, or 4.7 FIP, 27% K rate over the last 5, 3.22, and a 28% K rate. He allows a lot of fly balls. The Mets have been very good versus lefties lately, but over the longer span, not quite as good. They've been mediocre versus Luzardo in the past and a 24.5% combined K rate. This is another spot where I don't mind some, but not going to go overboard here as well, as the Mets are a potent offense. And we saw that last night, how they got to Sanchez, who is a lefty as well. Chris Bassett, 8,400. Look, his 4.68 FIP and 5.64 FIP are not very inspiring. K rates low, but we know he is a guy that when he gets it going, that K rate is much higher. Bassett also way better at home. 76% more fantasy points while at home. And he's versus Minnesota, who's striking out at almost 25% versus righties over the last 20 games. Now, they do hit the ball very hard. They have a lot of guys that can hit a home run with 215 ISO, but there's a Woba that's 340 is decent, average 240, not the best. I'm interested in some Bassett here, but there's a couple things that I am worried about. His recent form has been poor. However, at least 2 of the 5 have been away, and then the 2 at home, KC and Texas, are both solid offenses. So I'll give him a little bit of a pass here for that recent form. All in all, I think Bassett is an interesting piece. The ceiling is there at his price tag to warrant some. But again, I'm not going to go crazy on my Bassett exposure. I like him. I don't love him. Sean Manaea at 7.6K and 17% owned should be a pivot consideration. He's been decent, low 4s FIP, mid to high 20s K rate. Statcast data is fine. The Phillies are another team that has been hitting the ball very, very hard lately, but also striking out. So there's some warrant here. I don't love the spot, but he is at least better at home, 29% more fantasy points at home. Now pivots. Let's talk about Hunter Brown, 15% owned versus the league's favorite punching bag in the Colorado Rockies. I'm sorry, Zero, but it's the truth. Hunter Brown has been great. 3.19 FIP over his last 20, 2.55 over the last 5. My only worry here is his K rate has fallen off dramatically lately. 21.8% versus 29.5. Now, at his price, 11K, that K rate needs to jump up to 30% again. And at least versus the Rockies, they are striking out a lot versus righties. The offense also, away from Coors, is really nothing to write home about. I'm in for some Hunter Brown and just hoping that K rate bounces back and he can give us one of those mid 30-point performances. Look, I love the Miz, but I got to warn you once again, like last time, I don't think he's going to go more than 75, 80 pitches. And for that, at 9,500, I can't do it. Yusei Kikuchi, 8,300 versus the Texas Rangers. This is a guy that has a 3.72 FIP over his last 20, 3.59 over his last 5. And his K rate generally in the mid 20s. Also, big thing here, over the last 150 games, Texas has been very bad versus lefties. 226 average, 150 ISO, 292 WOBA, and striking out at almost 26%. Now, they have been better in the short term. Not a ton of pop, only a 135 ISO, but 275 average, almost 340 WOBA. And that K rate has came down big time. Kikuchi also worse away, 42% less fantasy points away. And then BVP data is just kind of whatever. All in all, I think Kikuchi is going way too low owned. He's a guy that has that high 20s, even 40-point upside when he really, really gets it going. But all in all, it's a guy that could get you 7 Ks at 8,300 and go 6-7 innings and be in the perfect lineup at his price. So I absolutely have to get some of him, and I think he is going way overlooked right now. Next, Mitch Keller, 7,200. This isn't a nice click. Don't love it. He hasn't been good. 4.34 ERA on the season, 9.45 over the last month. 3.91 FIP over the last 20, 5.81 over the last 5. Now, he is another guy that gets a little streaky. He's been very bad lately, but at his low price, I think there could be a bounce back. And when he gets it going, he's another guy that can get you into the mid to high 20s. Statcast data has been scary, but really not all that many barrel balls to batted, 35% hard contact, 43% fly balls. You know, not great numbers, but you can deal with it if he has, a decent outing. Those numbers are all coming in lower, and at 7,200 and 3.9 FIP, I got to have some, especially when his K rate gets elevated, when he really gets it going. Then you look into the team split. St. Louis has been awful versus righties, 232 average, 108 ISO, striking out at almost 27%. I absolutely love the spot. 22.7% combined K rate. Even though he hasn't been good versus them in the past, I am very interested in this spot and hoping he is able to bounce back a little bit. 7.2K is just too cheap for his ceiling. He can give you those mid-20s, maybe a 30-point outing like he did last time versus St. Louis. So I have some interest in there. I wouldn't go nuts with it, but I'm definitely having some as like an SP2. Clayton Kershaw, 7.7K. 3.84 FIP over his last 20, 3.12 over the last 5. His issue is nowadays he just doesn't strike many guys out. 15% K rate over the last 20, 13% over the last 5. But his StatCast data is great. The splits are absolutely in his favor versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati has struggled versus lefties the entire season. He averages 34% less fantasy points at home, which is a worry, but this is a great spot, and I don't mind getting some Kershaw. He can still have a vintage outing from time to time here, and if he gets up to 5-6 Ks, which is absolutely doable versus Cincinnati with a lefty, then he could end up in a perfect lineup. My issue with him is the ceiling aspect. At this stage in his career, 25, 26 is pretty much his ceiling. He had 27 once. Could he do it again? Yes. Is it likely? No. And at 7,700, you really do need 25 plus out of your pitcher. So I might have some, not going to go overboard. Should talk about Castillo just because he's at home and he averages 61% more fantasy points. My issue is just going against the Padres with a righty low K rate, and they can hit righties very, very well, as we saw last night. The team did well. I'm fine sprinkling in some Castillo, but I'm not going to go too wild with him. Now, on to the pitchers on FanDuel. We got Brown and Manaea as the two highest, with Luzardo coming in next. I think at 10K, Matt Boyd is pricey, but you can consider him. And 10.1K for Dylan Cease is interesting. Now, Hunter Brown is clearly the better option, but I think at low ownership, Cease, Kikuchi, Bassett all have some interest for me, and I'm willing to pay down a little bit. 7,500, Mitch Keller also isn't the worst spot in the world when, the higher price guys outside of Brown all have some warts on the resume for this slate. Now, let's get over to the stack attacks to round this all out on this fine Tuesday. And let's get over to the high owned stacks. We got Angels versus Patrick Corbin. Corbin, while he's been good on the season, has fallen off lately at 6.66 FIP. Angels can hit some home runs. I'm fine with having some Angel stacks. My only issue with them is they generally don't put together like team outings. It's 2, 3, guys that go nuts. So I generally just prefer this team in smaller stacks than in larger ones because they're boom or bust with the home run. Don't mind some large stacks of them, but I do prefer smaller ones of them. High projected. We got Detroit versus Beto. Absolutely fine. Beto has been good lately. That's the only issue there. But all in all, splits are in the favor of Detroit, and I very much like that offense as a whole. Arizona versus The Miz. The issue with The Miz is that he probably is not going to go very deep into this game, and it gets you into the bullpen earlier, so I have some interest. The Dodgers versus Nick Martinez. Absolutely interesting. Martinez with a 5.19 FIP over his last 5. Don't mind that. These are the highest projected stacks. There is a slew of them in there, and it makes it very interesting on a 12-game slate, as no stack is going to get, too high owned. As you saw, even on the high projected 61% or highest owned stacks, 61% is not very high owned. So don't let ownership talk you off a stack today if you really do like them. Houston versus Tanner Gordon. Not only is Gordon not very good, the bullpen's not very good. Houston's at home. Definitely like them. Mackenzie Gore, while he started the season on fire, struggle bus lately. So don't mind picking on him a little bit as well. Our high value stacks, we got Texas versus Kikuchi. Look, you guys all know that I love these kind of volatile pitcher spots, and I like to stack both sides. This is another one. Kikuchi, while he is a very good pitcher, can get blown up, and when he does, he gives up some bombs, which is great for DFS. Pittsburgh versus Plante. If I get a little bit pit, I'm fine. I'm not going to go hard on them, and I'm going to make sure I don't get too much of them with them popping up as a value. You most likely will. I will try and push that down a little bit. Toronto versus Bailey Ober. He can get blown up. He can have good games. It's another boom bust spot. And Toronto as a team does hit a little bit better at home, so a little more interest. Mets versus Luzardo. Don't mind a little, not going overboard again. Same with Philly versus Manaea. Philly has been hitting the ball hard lately, so there is absolutely some interest there. But Manaea is a solid pitcher. Don't want to go overboard, and behind him is a solid bullpen. So while I like Philly, the ceiling is there. I'm not going to go overboard with the team stacks because I just think it is a less likely option. But I is the chance. So I don't mind having some high leverage. We got Arizona, we got Philly, we got Seattle versus Cease. I think Cease versus the Seattle stack versus Cease is super interesting. He gives up home runs, he gives up hard contact, and that's exactly what Seattle can take advantage of. So definitely some interest there. Clicking the teams tab. Best hitting weather on the slate is in Atlanta or in Sacramento. I like both Detroit and Atlanta in this spot. 5.7 implied run total for Detroit, 5.3 for the A's. 5 for Houston in versus Tanner Gordon, 5 for the Dodgers, 5 for the Yankees. All three are nice. The top end of our implied run total today are all spots I like. I'm going to be heavy on all of those teams. KC versus Martin Perez. I don't mind a little bit of that. Same with the Angels versus Patrick Corbin. Milwaukee versus Brandon Pfaff is super interesting to me. Pfaff isn't as good when he's away today, right? Yes. Pfaff isn't as good away, and this Milwaukee team can definitely get two guys, and Pfaff can have these blow-up games. Behind him is a poor bullpen. Milwaukee makes a ton of sense. One of my favorite kind of lower-owned stacks of the day. As far as lower-owned ones, definitely interested in Texas. And then Cubs a little bit. Seems like that offense is turning around a little. And Seattle and Padres kind of round it out there. Now, that'll do it for us today. Another fun slate on the books. We got 12 games today. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, come join us at LineStar as, there is a free trial. 7 days free. Come get used to the system. Then stay for the NFL season, which is only a week away. Wild how quickly this year has gone by. Let's get a takedown on Takedown Tuesday. See you all later. I'm gonna schedule the prop show for 11:45. Give me a little bit of time to make sure I got everything ready and got the props I want. Then that show will be out. You guys all have a good one. See you back in a little bit. Have a great day. Let's make some money. Talk to you later. Peace.